Hello, beautiful people. My name is Emma.
And I'm MC.
And we are your hosts of the G-Forces podcast. That took us like 4 tries to get started in this episode.
We finally got here, though.
Yeah, that's all that matters in the end. So, we are a few days late. We know that. We had family staying with us who are probably listening to this episode. And because of that, we didn't want to be rude hosts and kick them out of their room, aka our recording studio. So we're recording a few days late for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
But I think that's okay because we all just experienced a triple header. And so,
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I think we're all a little tired.
Yeah.
You know? I think it was a generally...
It was a good race.
It was a good race. It's a great track. You know, like the newer ones are, you know, where I land on that regard. Definitely some drama. We've got a new leader, the World Drivers' Championship, first time ever. You know, we've got some spiciness from Max, which is
get into.
To be expected. And I feel like we have, like, Carlos finally vibing, you know? Like, all things. Like, it was overall, I think it was good for some people.
It was bad for some others.
Yeah.
It happens.
It does.
I'm glad that Mary Catherine did a career history on Rima Jufali. That's correct?
Yep.
Yes, and she was in the Mercedes garage during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix throughout the weekend, so that was really awesome to see. Anything else? J-Lo was there.
Yeah, I just want to know how hot she was in her
patent leather
get
suit.
She was with, what team was she with?
Was she with Ferrari?
I can't
Because she took a photo with Lewis.
I can't remember, but celebrities in the paddock, they always make me laugh, but...
Yeah, but J-Lo is... as New Yorkers born and raised, J-Lo is an interesting person.
Yeah.
That little orange drink, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god.
Anyways, there's a lot to talk about, I feel like, for this race. I feel like I've kind of removed myself, though, over the last few days from, the drama, so I don't really know what's going on in the F1 world.
Yeah, our parents were in town, so I'll be honest, none of us really know what happened afterwards.
We didn't even watch the post-race show.
Oh my god, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
I've seen a few things on Reddit, of course, and then I've seen a bunch of stuff on a few things on TikTok. My TikTok page is all ASMR right now. You can tell I was I needed some calming down after all the family.
The only F1 stuff that's on my TikTok right now is Miami, getting ready for Miami videos.
Oh,
it's all of the Miami by Will Smith edits too.
I had all the Max and Ben drama.
I did see that. See that.
So I had a little bit of that, but and then I think the FAA met and changed a bunch of things today or yesterday. They made some regulation changes. They met.
They approved Cadillac for an engine supplier 2029 or something.
I don't know.
It feels kind of far away.
Yeah, but I feel like 2026 felt far away, and now we're at its doorstep. So these seasons happen so much faster.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Sorry, I'm just in my mind. I'm a little in my head right now. Earlier, I was thinking about that I had something to say that was life altering on this podcast, and I can't remember what it was.
Regarding F1?
No, I think regarding myself, because the people care so deeply about ourselves.
Oh my god.
I can't remember what it was. It's probably not that life altering if I can't remember.
It'll come to you.
Oh, no. Oh, never mind. Anyways, we're going to get into it now. Right? You don't have anything else?
No.
Okay, we're going to get into it. MC.
Wow. I was waiting for you to forget, to be
no,
honest. I was
it's the track info.
I was waiting for you to go straight into practice.
No, guys, I am making money moves, okay? What in the 2017 did I just say?
Take a lap. All right, so the official race name for this weekend was the Formula One STC Saudi Arabian Grand Prix 2025. The circuit name is the Jeddah Corniche Circuit. The first Grand Prix was held in 2021, and there are, I believe, this is the highest amount of turns on any circuit. There are 27 turns. Now, don't think like 20, they're like
Yeah,
curves,
it's more like curves.
you know. Look it up. You have your phone. You're listening to us on a phone. Look it up. The circuit length is 6.174 kilometers, or for the Americans, 3.836 miles. They're doing 50 laps around this circuit, which comes out to a race distance of 308.45 kilometers, or 191.661 miles. So what also adds to the action and makes this a fan favorite is the fact that they have 3 DRS detection zones. Say that 3 times
I thought you were about to have a lisp for a second.
Who knows? But respect to lisps. DRS detection zone 1 is between turns 17 and 18. Activation starts turn 19 and ends right before turn 22. DRS detection zone 2 is right before turn 22, and activation starts between turns 24 and 25 and ends before turn 27. DRS detection zone 3 is right before turn 27, and activation starts further up in the start-finish straight. So basically there's just DRS zone after DRS zone after DRS zone. I don't know why they don't spread them out more to the beginning half.
Some of the turns are very tight and intense on this track.
Yeah.
You mess up, you're in the wall.
You kiss it, it can mess up your suspension.
You misjudge the turn by a centimeter, your car could be wrecked.
And we know this from our deep experience at this circuit.
Yeah, we've been there many times, guys.
Yeah. Sarcasm.
On
We've
the
never
sim.
been there. But if
On the
anyone,
sim.
if anyone wants to invite us.
Yeah, I'm so down.
I'm probably free next year. Anyways.
I can make myself free.
So that's the track info. I don't really have much more to say. It's a newer track. I like it.
It might not be the track in a couple years.
Yeah, they're building the second one like Emma spoke about.
That's about 20 stories. The turn 1 is 20 stories up in the air, which sounds like we're going to see some drivers unalived, unfortunately.
No, I don't think so. I'm sure there will be
We don't have
massive-
force field technology.
Emma, I'm sure it's not going to be like a roller it's not going to be like Rainbow Road where they're just going to fly
bro.
off.
That's what it looks like.
There's no way. No. I'll believe it when it happens.
How do you protect a car 20 stories up in the air from not flying off?
I'm not gonna I don't believe you.
Obviously, they'd have like metal barriers and stuff. But like,
it is not, they're not building something that they're just gonna fall off the, no.
Yeah, but like, even if they put like metal barriers.
No one would drive there.
I'm just saying, this is the specs that they've shown everyone.
Okay,
And
find
the
them.
internet-
find them and send them
The
to
internet
me.
has agreed this looks like a suicide mission.
Find them, find the internet that agrees. And I'll believe you.
I'm on the internet that agrees.
Anyways, that's the
I
track.
am the internet.
That's the track info.
Okay, we're gonna get into practice now. FP1. There's a few things that happen. I've really just got a few bullet points for each practice session, and then I will let you guys know the top order or like order of people we typically talk about or care about. No offense to those that we don't typically talk about.
Oh my god, Emma.
So FP1. Pretty early on, we find out that Oscar's drink was leaking into his helmet.
It's not the first time that the drink and the helmet has issues for drivers.
This also happened to Isaac at some point this weekend, and the commentators were like, so the drivers are currently being waterboarded by their helmets and drink system at the moment.
Well, didn't Liam Lawson's first F1 race, he admitted that it went up his nose, that like the
Yeah.
tube, he was like, yeah, so I couldn't drink it because there's no way I can fix it with my gloves and while I'm driving, so I just had a tube up my nose for the whole time.
I feel like I would have somehow maneuvered my tongue and chin to like get it out of my nose.
I'm sure that's not the priority.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're like dying of thirst.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of these guys say they don't drink at all during the races.
I mean, we wouldn't drink during like 10Ks.
Yeah, but we didn't have a drink attached to us.
Yeah, but I don't know if we all put like camelbacks on our back, and I don't know if I'd really want to. I'm like going 1,000 bajillion.
Yeah, but they're doing double what we did.
I don't know.
Anyways, so that happened. There were also a couple of really close calls with some of the walls because, like we said, if you're 1 centimeter off at this race, you're in the wall. And many drivers had very close moments this weekend. And then some surprise results this weekend. We had, let me pull it up. Okay. FP1. We had Pierre Gasly as number 1. Who would have thought?
Yeah, especially with the start that we've seen with Alpine.
Yeah. Quite surprising. Lando Norris P2, Charles Leclerc P3, Oscar Piastri P4, Alex Albon P5, George Russell P6, Carlos Sainz P7, Lewis Hamilton P8, Max Verstappen P9, and Yuki Tsunoda P10. So Yuki and Max were pretty close this weekend.
Yeah, no. And I definitely think it's interesting. I feel like Lewis has kind of been stuck in this like 8-10 spot within everything. With
Mercedes, with Ferrari.
Well, yeah, like Mercedes the last probably year, 2 years, and then with Ferrari, yeah, he's kind of been, I mean, not saying that, Charles is out matching him. It's just, I don't know. It's just curious to see. Like, it's the same thing I'm going to be wondering when Adrian Newey is the one in charge of the Aston Martin design, and I'm going to be like, are we actually going to see an improvement from Fernando, or...
I think we will. I mean, he was on the podium.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting to see Lewis kind of like just stuck.
Yeah, and I mean, he did make a comment this weekend about how he needs like somebody think it was like he was like I need like a brain transplant or something in order to get this car right or whatever.
I think a lot of them are struggling mentally. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's been an
I think
unfortunate
this
theme.
leg of the season is hard.
Yeah.
It's the flyaway. Like, yeah, next race in a week, a little over a week, is in Miami. But like they all after Saudi went home to Europe after this.
Yeah.
And they're there for a week and a half, and then they go to Miami, and then after Miami they're back in Europe for a good chunk.
Yeah.
I think that the first leg of like trying to get used to your car, not really being able to bring upgrades, like I don't think it's an easy leg of the entire season.
Yeah, no, not by any means. I mean, just in travel alone on the teams, not
And
even
getting
just
used
the
to the
drivers
time
and
change.
teams, yeah. And again, I've heard like a few of their trainers talk about the time change and how they handle it, and it sounds absolutely miserable.
Yeah, not something I could do. Okay, FP2, Gabriel Bortoleto, I don't know why I said that so weird, did not participate in this due to a fuel leak problem. Didn't know that he did not participate. To be fair, we did watch FP2 as we were working and like doing other things.
Yeah.
So they might have said that, but then
We just missed
we
it.
just missed it. And then FP3 comes on and they're like, oh, Gabriel Bortoletto's back out after having a fuel leak. And I go, oh, didn't realize he wasn't participating. This is news to me. So that happened. He was fine though. And then towards the very end of the session, unfortunately, we see quite a bad crash for Yuki Tsunoda. It was not a bad touch of the wall, but the results were quite severe.
Yeah, he essentially was making one of the really tight turns,
Yeah.
right? And his front left wheel basically kissed the wall, and that in and of itself, you basically just saw him go like probably a foot, and then the suspension just like the front wheel suspension just like broke, and which in turn he loses a little bit of control and it's tight in that section. He goes into the wall, and it just kind of sucked because it's like, again, that second seat, it's not
It's
easy.
cursed.
It's like,
And Yuki's been doing pretty decently in
he's
it.
been doing really decent. But it's also just like the fact, I mean, they're probably a team that, I mean, Checo crashed a decent amount. They're a team that's used to it, like repairing it, but it's just,
It sucks.
it sucks for Yuki because it's less time and the car is very difficult for him.
Yeah. And so that happened. Obviously, a red flag came out, and all the drivers went into the pits. Then the red flag was lifted right at like about a minute left of the session, and everybody like sped out of there to try and get like a practice start in. No, the order didn't change at all, obviously, because nobody was able to do a fast lap. But yeah, that was FP2. Overnight, the Red Bull team was able to repair Yuki's car somehow, because it was quite a lot of damage. But in FP3, Yuki did come back, and his fastest time was actually only 0.3 seconds away from Max. So again, he's performing quite close to Max, which is really good. So hats off to Yuki. And then just a few shout outs for FP3. We had Williams in 6th and 7th. And then we also had Pierre back in the top 10. Pierre is definitely maximizing that Alpine because I don't think it's a very good car.
Yeah, I do think, Pierre is kind of in the same boat as Alex and even Carlos to an extent, where I just feel like they're adaptable in their own ways, that they've kind of been thrown kitchen sink type cars where everything's thrown into them and they have to figure it out. I'm also, I'm curious to see, obviously, the second seed in Alpine, how Jack does, because I do feel like Jack has he's been like, not struggling, but stumbling a little bit more to find his
I would
footing.
say so.
But I also feel like he's in the pack with the rest of the rookies. Like, he's not a man on a lone island.
No, and I think that a lot of the teams need to give rookies at least the European races to like at least a chunk of them to like really get into the car.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these tracks in Europe they've all done many times before. And yeah, a lot of them have raced in like Australia and like Japan and stuff like that before in like F2. But I mean, Jack didn't race last year.
Yeah.
He took a whole year off and was doing sim work. And like you can do as much sim work as you want, but it's not the real thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we say in rowing, like ergs don't float,
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to be in the car to experience it. But yeah, I think the Alpine is doing well, like more better than I thought with Pierre's regard. So
Yeah.
we'll see what they can bring.
Yeah. And that is it for FP3.
Cool. I will get into quali. All right, so Q1, Oscar was able to top the boards, and once everyone had pretty much done their first group of laps, showing the strength again, as we've said every weekend, of the McLaren. Lando was able to put in a good time as well, marginally close behind Oscar, with Max hot on the heels of the McLarens. And I'll be honest, I feel like this kind of took a few people by surprise because the Red Bull has just been struggling so much. But he's also done this where, like, one weekend he'll have a really shit showcase and then the next weekend. But I also just think it's the car, like, I think it's not Max as your driver. I think this is just showing you, like, how difficult and how nonsensical the car is right now. Isaac kissed the wall during one of his laps and was quite vocal to his team about checking on the car. And then Alpine was struggling and continued to struggle when the mechanics were unable to pull the warming blanket off of one of Pierre's tires.
Dude, that was crazy.
He pulled away with it partially on. Luckily this didn't mess him up too bad, and he was able to get out of the dropout zone when he did his final fast lap. Max was also able to get the top time of this session. Again, just like kind of shocking everyone. Knocked out of Q1 was Lance Stroll, Jack Doohan, Nico Hulkenberg, Esteban Ocon, and Gabriel Bortoleto, which I feel
so bad for Gabriel.
bad because it's just, I mean, the good thing is that Nico Hulkenberg is like struggling just as much.
And he's a
multi-season qualified,
like he's really good at qualifying.
I'm just like, what have they done to that car? Like, I don't know. I'm like, what is Audi getting their hands on? What is going on? I don't know.
It's trash. And I just feel bad because, like, he literally won F2 last year, and now he's in one of the worst cars you can be in.
Well, so I think
and
that's...
so, like,
I think...
my fear is it's not going to be, like, I hope they give him a second year, obviously.
I think they will. Like, I definitely I'm not overtly concerned. My whole thing is just, like, what are they doing to bet? Like, how have they gotten it so bad? Like, it's terrible.
My thing sometimes with, like, the lower field cars, like, specifically Sauber, does there come a point within F1 or really any kind of motorsport where, like, one car is so significantly behind the others that, like, the FIA has to step in and is like, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, there's definitely been teams that have run out of money that have just dropped out of F1. So, like, I don't know if they'll get to a point where they just drop out. I mean, I'm sure we've seen every team ebbs and flows, right? They have years of success and they're on top, and then they have years of just absolute
Yeah, but
ass.
has Sauber ever been amazing?
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. It's... I don't know. They stress me out.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Nothing else to say there.
Moving on to Q2. So, Lando was able to hit the top of the time charts in this session with Max right behind. Not much happened until the final push lap for everyone. Kimi was close and was able to improve to 5th. Carlos seemed to finally be vibing a bit better than the last few races and was able to move up to 6th. And Lewis was just able to save himself, bumping Alex Albon out of Q3 by just 0.007 of a second. So, like, that's also showing you how freaking tight the midfield is.
100%.
And so when you see, like Yuki...
Crazy to say a Ferrari's a midfield car.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, like, Yuki will be 8th and Max will be 3rd, but then you have to, like, look at the time difference.
They're, like, 0.07 apart.
So, knocked out of that session, like I said, was Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, Isaac Hadjar, and Ollie Behrman. And I'll be honest with you, they go kind of in the same boat as me for Sauber right now. I don't know what the hell Aston Martin is, like, what the rumors swirling, just the absolute nonsensicalness, the blink twice, Lance, if you're being held there against your will. Like, I just, again, they seem like another team where I'm like, is Adrian Newey Hail Mary? Like, what's the plan?
Okay, so here's my theory when it comes to Aston Martin. I don't think that Fernando Alonso would just sit around.
That's
quietly.
what I'm saying.
I think they have plans ready for next year.
I mean, I'm sure,
and I'm sure that right now Fernando's just like, we're just going through the motions right now to get to next year.
I think that's the thing that confuses me so much too, is that, like, so many people talk about this, like, young Fernando, this, like, crazy,
even a couple of years ago,
unhinged little gremlin of a man. And I'm like, where's that energy?
So, when I first watched Drive to Survive, I really did not like
I know.
Fernando.
I know. You
Because
talked
in like
about
the
it.
first season or two when he was with McLaren, I was like, this guy sucks. He's so mean and rude. I do not like mean people or rude people, especially like if you're like the famous one. Like,
Yeah,
be
like the
kind to the
entitled.
like
Yeah.
to the workers that are surrounded by you. And so I got so angry because I was like, these people work so hard and he's being so mean to them. I don't think that Fernando's gone.
That's the thing. Like
There
yeah.
has to be, he has to know more than we do. Obviously.
Conspiracies. But yeah.
They're going to come out guns blazing next season, and it's going to be the fastest car we've ever seen.
I am curious.
They're going to break world records every single weekend.
I am curious to see what teams think they're going to come out guns blazing, and just it does not work.
Oh, it's going to be Mercedes and Ferrari.
I think we're going to have like go-kart level like energy where it's just like shit is everywhere, nothing makes sense, teams are a mess, everyone's gone a different direction.
What was it like, for those of you that are listening, what was it like the last time there was a major regulation change like this? Like, what was the energy the first race for everybody? Or
was it a mess? Did it seem like a little kid race?
Did it feel significantly different, like the cars?
Yeah, let us
know.
Anyways, Q3. So both McLarens got onto the track pretty quick, with Oscar starting to put in his first fast lap. And then Lando follows behind, I believe. And at turn 5, Lando hit the wall.
Yes.
And crashed, which immediately raised red flags. For those that are new, when red flags are raised during practice, the time doesn't start, the clock keeps going. When a red flag is raised during qualifying, the
Everything
clock
stops.
is stopped. So, basically, Lando at this point does not have a time. Immediately, we know he's going to be starting at 10th.
Bro is, he's struggling.
I think that this doesn't sound so, like, I hate being, like, this type of, I mean, it's what we do. We have a F1 podcast. But, like, I feel like everyone has a weakness, and every athlete has a weakness, and it's kind of, like, the same thing of, you know, everyone has a fate, like, a tell in poker.
Yeah.
And I just feel like sometimes it's nothing new. Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I just hate talking, like, negative when people's mental health is not great. It's the little mistakes every time. It's the little teeny tiny mistakes that, like, every podcast has sat here and said, but, like, this is what's going to lose the World Drivers' Championship.
Well, and he knows it.
Yeah, and I think that
as an athlete, like, you know what your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Like, as a rower, I knew why I wasn't in certain boats. I knew why I wasn't being the best that I could be.
I think it's just, like, when you have the entire world doing what we're doing, like, throwing it in, like, these athletes'
Oh, I'm sure
faces,
that this sucks.
And it's just, it's, like, one of those things where you do start to kind of, like, feel sad watching this sport, because, like, the World Drivers' Championship is the goal. It's the end-all, be-all.
Well,
and
you
I
start to realize that, like,
it's
not realize, but you remember each race that every single one of these people that are in the car, this has been their dream for their whole lives.
Well, and there's such a small point for some of them that like, they'll achieve this. It'll only be a season or not even a season for some drivers. And then you start to realize that the amount of World Drivers Champions that we have are not that many. I mean, there's only 20 living right now, you know, and we're celebrating 75 years of this sport. And so, I don't know, you just start to realize, like, how close yet unattainable being the champion is. And I think, unfortunately, like, some of them are gonna face it harder than others, and I feel like Lando's just kind of in a rock and a hard place right now.
Well, so, okay, there's been a lot of conversation online right now about Charles, and I think that there's a huge difference between Charles and Lando. I know that Charles has had really successful seasons in the past where, like, I know that he came in, like, P2 or something in the Drivers' Championship a couple years ago. I think it was 2022. But I think the difference is Max was always going to win that season. Like, as much as Charles was coming in second,
It was like a solid
Max was always
second.
going to win.
Yeah.
Where right now, Lando, I think, went into the season thinking, like, this is my season. But then, like, I think he tends to start off seasons like this almost, where, like, some little mistakes are happening right now because he so wants it. And you start to, it happens. Where with Charles, people say it's like waste. People are comparing Charles Leclerc to Daniel Ricciardo of like wasted potential within F1 of like you could have been a driver's champion for Daniel, if he never left Red Bull, he probably could have. And then for Charles, if he never leaves Ferrari, he probably won't.
I mean, and that's something that people have been talking about though since like I feel like since Charles's like second season it's everything we've heard. We've talked about it before, but it is a very eerily similar comparison.
Where like with Lando, I do think he has the capability, but it's not team dependent or car dependent. I think it's him dependent.
Yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised, and obviously none of us can tell the future, but just knowing the type of athlete he is and the partnership that he has with McLaren, I wouldn't even be surprised if, like, say, for whatever reason he doesn't win this season. I feel like there is the possibility of him, like, he's just gonna have to work harder for it, but, like, in 2 to 3 years. Like,
Yeah.
I do think he's one of those drivers that
I could
know.
see him doing his entire F1 career at McLaren and be there for like 10 years.
And finally, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a quick sidebar.
Sorry.
But after the red flag, so Lando crash, gets red flag. That's what got us into that whole spiel. After the red flag, and with 8 minutes left, the session resumed. Because of the red flags and the amount of time left, a lot of the drivers and teams decided to just do one flying lap. So George ended up taking the top position, and then Oscar took the top position, and then Max finally came in and took pole by 0.010 of a second. 0.0 of a second. That, like, again!
I was genuinely surprised seeing that happen.
Yeah, I was frustrated.
We were out at brunch when quali was happening, so we didn't watch it live, and then I opened up my phone stupidly, and I see that Max was on pole, and I was like, what the? How?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let me just read off the top 10 real quick. 1 was Max, 2 was Oscar, 3 was George, 4 was Charles, 5 was Kimi, 6 was Carlos, 7 was Lewis, 8 was Yuki, 9 was Pierre, and 10 was Lando. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like not a lot of us are talking about Kimi. I feel like he's getting lost in the sauce of, like, all the drama. And he's always in, like, the top 6 consistently, I feel like, qualifying-wise. Like, or in the top 10 at least.
Last year when Ali qualified P7 in the Ferrari at Jeddah, people were like, well, you should be qualifying P7 in a Ferrari.
Okay, you're gonna make the whole, like, he's in a great car.
In a Mercedes, so
Yeah.
he should be qualifying ahead of the other rookies.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, still, like, it's...
For him to be doing better than, like, Lewis,
crazy.
is great.
Yeah, but that is qualifying.
Alrighty, now we are going to get into the race. Okay. The race. Quite a lot happened. Off the start, we had some spiciness. Some craziness, actually.
Yeah.
So, and this is actually the first start. Yes, first start where we finally had a crash.
I think so, yeah. I think we've had a clean start every race this season except for today. Or not
Not
today.
that I want someone to get hurt. I don't want that. But I want a crash at the start. I want some interesting drama.
If not a crash, maybe a puncture. Maybe something to spice it up, you know?
A
I
little
want
hole in the side of the car.
maybe someone to just hobble back to the pit lane. Finish the race. I don't like when people DNF.
No.
I just want you to like struggle.
I
a
want some
little
like
bit.
Fernando Alonso, like I will get back to the pit.
Yeah, like some
Energy.
crazy ass shit.
Yeah.
But
Anyways.
unfortunately, that did not happen.
No. They were not making it back to the pit this time.
No.
Okay, so before the carnage happens, we have Oscar and Max take off. Everybody else obviously takes off as well, but Oscar and Max are the sole people here we're talking about. And Oscar, to the surprise of everybody, including Max,
Not me.
pushes Max off the track. Basically just doing what Max does to everybody else at the start.
And it's funny, when you rewatch the start footage, it is so how Oscar's entire persona to the public is portrayed. He stayed in his line, and Max did the typical Max like drift that he does into the person in second. And normally Lando will try to do the same move, but Oscar just kept driving straight, like barely moved.
Well, and Max was then off track, and then because he went off track, he was then able to pass Oscar. And so because of this, he passed Oscar off track.
Which apparently, Christian Horner, after the race, was walking around with a photo where he was trying to, I love to see the photo. I'm not saying that it's not true, but apparently he's trying to state that Max hit the apex first. So Max had the right of way. Just take it, dude. You still got a podium, Christian. Like,
you know what
everything
that energy
bothers
is giving? You know what that's giving? It's from the Drive to Survive scene of fix your fucking car. But then Toto's like, I have it. I have the papers. I have it printed out.
Yeah.
Literally, Christian printed out a freaking photo. Calm yourself, man. We can only say that because it's not our team. If it was our team, we'd probably be like, walk around, protest.
Yeah. But also, like, I respect Red Bull for what they've done, but they're not the team I'm here for, so I'm sorry. They make a great hat.
They do. I do love my Red Bull hat.
It's great.
It's horrible. It's a great hat. Okay, so that happens. While that's also happening, coming around the bend of turn 1, we see Yuki and Pierre crash. Pierre basically cuts off Yuki to the point where, like, if Yuki could disappear, that would have been great for Pierre. But Yuki can't do that, actually. And so he was there and in Pierre's way, just by existing. And so then Pierre crashed into Yuki, then Yuki crashed into the wall. I think Yuki Air just wanted to hang out that whole weekend, so it's okay. Besties are besties, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how they were feeling after.
It's okay. Life moves on, guys. It does suck that Yuki crashed twice in one weekend, but this crash, in fact, was not his fault, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of that crash, there's a safety car that comes out, but Max is ahead of Oscar at this point, and the pundits and we were saying, Max, just give Oscar the place back. It's going to be easier for you than getting a 5-second penalty. You can just pass him after.
It's funny, because I feel like it's something that McLaren has been faced with a few times, and they would
rather deal with giving this back than the 5-second penalty.
And I think that there have been moments where even Max himself has argued, like, they have to give the place back. And the fact that, like, Red Bull just was being so obstinate about it was very frustrating. Because it was like, we've seen you try to pull the same move.
I was going to make a really weird comparison.
What?
Red Bull is like that toxic relationship partner who won't say that they're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Anyways. Okay, this is when we find out that Max got a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining advantage off the start.
Not happy.
No, and I honestly was a little surprised that they gave him the penalty. Because usually they just let you get away with whatever you want at the start. But I think it's because it was like so blatantly obvious and not just like pushing, not just like Max like sliding into the other person.
Yeah, I'm curious Why? Because yeah, there have been. Oh,
Maybe
it's
there's
a
been enough
first
people
lap.
complaining like us.
But yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, that happened. We see Lando start to kind of just walk through the field. So remember, he started P10 and now he's got to work his way up. I think most people had started on mediums and a few were on hards. I think Lando was on
Lando was on
hards.
hards.
For some people, they
Um,
did not like the hards.
was anyone on softs? Not the Ferraris.
I don't know honestly
I
because
can't
of the
remember.
because of the safety car. There are a few people who went in at the
Yeah,
safety
pretty
car,
quick.
which was like, oh my gosh, which was like right off the start. And so I didn't pay attention to what tires they had on right away.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Normally I do. I apologize for that. We actually see Alex get told to watch the gap of the car in front of him, which was Carlos, but says he needs to watch the car behind him. So I think he had Lewis behind him that was like starting to catch up or something.
I definitely feel like Alex has been
A little spicy.
at least the um radio messages that they're playing have definitely been a little bit more like, which I think is good,
He's
to sit
advocating
there
for
and like,
himself.
yeah, advocate and question a little bit. And it very much reminds me of like George's radio messages sometimes, where it's just like the absolute like utter like, are you serious?
Yeah, well, I mean, when he got told to watch the gap between him and Carlos, it very much felt like Williams was saying, "Don't pass Carlos." But then
Yeah.
Alex is like, "I've got a car up my ass. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do? Not just let them pass?" So, respect for that. Okay, we see Lando finally passed Lewis at lap 13, but then Lewis retook the place, then Lando retook the place, then Lewis did. It was just like a back and forth. Like we said before, I think Lewis is just still trying to figure it out. I think he had that great sprint race in China.
We also have to remember, and this is something we've said quite a lot, when you've been in the same program for over a decade, it's hard to rewire your brain.
Yeah.
And so he's been at the same role with the same team with only certain things changing. And
It does seem like
so,
him and his race engineer are getting along better now.
yeah, no, there's definitely, and it's little improvements every week. I mean, thank God we
Fred
have,
doesn't seem concerned.
no, thank God we have over 20 something races.
If Fred was concerned, then I'd be concerned. But also, Fred seems like the chillest person alive.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I've ever seen that man concerned.
No.
Ever. In fact, I think I see him smiling even when other teams are winning. Like when in Miami.
When McLaren wins, he wants to join in on the team pictures.
Oh, I love Fred. Okay, so lap 14, we finally see Lando pass Lewis. It took him a whole like 2 laps to do that. The gap between Max and Oscar at this point is 1.475. So Oscar was ahead. Nope, Max was ahead. Oscar was behind. And this was at lap 16. Lap 19, Oscar's told to box. I think that he was just getting stuck in dirty air behind Max, and his tires, I don't think he was a big fan of them. And like at that point, it was either try to undercut him.
Yeah, the gap had also, it hadn't increased greatly, but it increased enough that I think McLaren was like, Max has to serve. Have we been told he's serving?
Yeah.
Max has to serve a 5-second penalty in his pit regardless. So let's just go get out in front of it, and it worked.
Yeah, it was actually McLaren's strategy.
Because that's what I said when we were watching. I was like, I would rather, if I was McLaren, I would rather not wait on Max to make the call, because
The undercut has been working better recently than, what is it, overcut?
Sure.
I don't know.
But yeah.
So yeah, that happened, and Red Bull decided to keep Max out for because we weren't sure if Red Bull was going to call Max in as as Oscar's being called in, but they decided to keep Max out, which I thought was an interesting call. Did not work out for them in the end. I can tell you that. Most were finally moving over to hard tires. Nothing really to say there.
Yeah, I think it just did better. There wasn't any crazy tire aspect, I feel like, in my opinion, this weekend. Like, sometimes it's like, they were just shredding, but no, it was just kind of a normal race weekend.
Yeah. What was it? Lap 21, we have Oscar passing Lewis. So obviously Oscar, when he came out from the pit, he ended up in like P7 or something and had to work his way back up. But he didn't come back out that far behind, actually.
Yeah, I think he was still in the top 10.
Yeah.
So.
We finally see at lap 22, Max go into the pit. And this is when McLaren was patting themselves on the back because Max comes out behind Oscar and Lewis. And I'm pretty sure George was not too far behind him. So I think Red Bull was punching the air.
Yeah, I definitely think having Lewis there was a positive. I think just everything for McLaren worked out, and yeah, the pressure of Red Bull to just be on top of things because your car isn't going to guarantee you 20-second leads anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that it's showing.
I think that panic of not having that is showing.
Well, it's similar to, the Lewis thing I just said. When you're sitting pretty for a while, when your driver is able to reference, bringing pillows into the cockpit because he's so far ahead, you don't have to have as many plans planned out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're aware. I mean, they have the data and the money and enough strategists that I'm sure that, they're not sitting here like, wow, they got it. They figured it out. But it's showing that, they're weaker, but they've also had a ton of people leave too.
Yeah.
And Zach Brown's alluded to the fact that, they get more CVs from a specific team. Like, he made mention of that last year.
I forgot about that.
And so I think
That's crazy.
It also goes to show that, like,
environment within a team.
Maybe they don't have the top tier employees that they used to have,
Yeah.
The best of the best aren't going to stay around, and look where Adrian Newey is now.
Yeah.
Not at Red Bull.
Yeah. So some fun stuff. Bortoleto and Alonso almost crashed into each other. This was at lap 25.
So halfway through the race.
Basically, there were other cars that were passing Bortoleto, and I just don't think that he was looking in his mirror to be able to see Alonso, which it was honestly an understandable situation. But Alonso had to go off track. He was like, please check the car. It was a close one. If y'all don't remember, Fernando Alonso is Gabriel Bortoleto's manager. And so they were making the joke. They were like, I guess Gabriel might not be flying home with him tonight.
Yeah, that's what Oscar said in the cool down room.
Well, Alex flew home with Max, and Alex found out about the penalty in the post-race interview, and he goes, oh.
He's like, I'll be sleeping on that flight.
Oh, yikes. Okay. Carlos passed Nico for 10th at this point. Carlos had dropped back, obviously, because of going into the pits, and he's starting to work his way up. This really was the weekend where Carlos, I think, was starting to gel with the Williams.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Charles finally went into the pit at lap 30. I thought that he was going to keep going, but he had to go in. His mediums were working fantastically for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been interesting, but I also just feel like it was time.
Yeah. What next? Lap 32, Lando potentially ends up getting the... I don't know what I just wrote. I wrote, lap 32, Lando potentially getting the advantage. The hell does that mean? What advantage was I talking about?
We'll never know.
I'm sure it made sense at the moment. Lap 34, Lando goes in and boxes for mediums.
Maybe that was the advantage.
I have no idea, because it's not like Oscar was pitting again.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think Lando is directly in front of Oscar at this point.
I can't remember.
I have no idea. There was some sort of advantage, though,
Yeah.
guys.
Emma noted it.
I noted it, but did not explain. Lap 38, Charles passes George. Nothing really crazy there. I love George's commentary during races.
I think George deserves more respect than...
He's really grown on me.
I feel like the female community respects him in a hilarious sort of way.
Oh, yeah.
And the male community just doesn't get it.
No,
like,
they don't.
They don't. And it's just, he's hysterical. Like,
yeah.
He's so funny.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And it's just, he's so, like, the British that I think we all thought was, like, every British person. Like, he's so prim and proper sometimes. That
he's
like,
very posh.
Yeah, and it's just hysterical.
Yeah. We do find out that Liam Lawson got a 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. I think that it was against Doohan. The one question is, how come he got a 10-second time penalty for doing that and Max only got a 5-second? I think that consistency needs to be reevaluated.
I'm gonna get that tattooed to my forehead. Consistency.
If I ever go into like a schizophrenic psychological state or something, I feel like I'm just gonna be like tweaking out, being like, consistency with the FIA because we say it so freaking often. Anyways. William started talking strategy at this point. This is when Carlos became a smooth operator for Williams. And he was like, if you want me to do it, I can do it. No problem. So the car in front of him, I don't remember who was in front of him, but there was no way he was going to be catching up to that car.
It was like 12 plus seconds.
And Isaac Hadjar was right behind Alex. So it was Carlos, Alex, and Isaac. And Isaac was up Alex's ass, basically. And Alex needed some help.
Well, and wasn't it Carlos was 8th, Alex was 9th, and Isaac was 10th? Because I think Isaac got the last point, right? Or was it Alex?
I don't remember.
We'll have to see when we...
Yes, it was P8 and P9. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And so Carlos did what he did in Singapore 2023, but this time it was for his teammate. So he slowed down just enough for Alex to get into his DRS, and so then they were basically all stuck in a DRS train behind Carlos, and so nobody was able to pass.
So basically,
they just stayed in the order they needed to be.
He stays in the sense that Isaac can never catch up to Alex because they'll all have DRS at the same time and they'll all be moving at the same, like no one's going to have an advantage over the other, and it basically ensures that they both got points.
Yeah. And this is teamwork. This is why it is a team sport, everybody.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And I think that's such an important point to point out, because we focus on the Max Verstappen and the Lando Norris and the Oscar, like we focus so much on the individual like driver champion that you do have to remember that this is a team sport. Like it is so much more than just the guy driving the lead car.
I think the people in the lead cars forget that, but the people that are in the midfield have to remember it.
And I think that's what's going to make the difference. And I think this is because we all know where we stand with Williams. This is what's going to project Williams to be a better team than the rest of the midfield, is because no one in the midfield is willing to work together. They don't have these like important team strategies where they're playing this
year for Williams, I believe, is the team game.
I think for the next 2 years,
that's all they're thinking. Team game. How do we promote the team as much as possible? Because Alex and Carlos know it. They're not becoming World Drivers' Champions this year or next year in that Williams.
Dude,
you know how you become a World Drivers' Champion? By getting your team to get more money. How do you get more money? By helping the team.
They're also being like brilliant publicity-wise with their little story tidbit about when Carlos got out, and then he helps Alex Albon with his strategy.
Yeah.
And then now this, and you're like it's just support Williams.
I'm going to say it, but Logan Sargent could never. Anyways,
Yeah, sad.
last few things. So Lando was noted for crossing the line at the pit exit and was under investigation. It ended up being dropped and he was totally fine. Lap 41, we see Lando pass George for 4th. So the rest of the race, he's just trying to chase down Charles in 3rd. Doesn't happen. And then we see Lance Stroll and Bortoletto blocking Oscar from passing. At this point, I was nervous that Max was going to catch up, and he did a bit because Oscar literally slowed down by like 3.5 seconds because Stroll and Bortoletto would not let him pass, which is against the rules.
Yeah.
Just a reminder.
What is this, IndyCar?
Yes. But that was the race. The P1 was Oscar, obviously. P2 was Max. P3 was Charles. P4 Lando. And I can't remember the rest off the top of my head. So that will come in our final thoughts when I can pull it up on my phone. So we're going to get into that right now. Okay, now I have the result on my phone.
Wow.
So now I'm able to tell you guys. Okay, so like I said, P1 Oscar, P2 Max, P3 Charles, P4 Lando, P5 George, I knew that, P6 Kimmy, I also knew that one, P7 Lewis, P8 Carlos, P9 Alex, P10 Isaac, as we know, P11 Fernando, don't know how he's pushing that tractor as much as he can, but it's happening, P12 Liam, P13 Ollie, P14 Esteban, P15 Nico, P16 Lance, P17 Jack, P18 Gabriel Bortoletto, and then obviously Yuki and Pierre DNF'd. So, that was the race. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, Oscar and Lando are now tied for wins. They both have 5 underneath their belts.
I thought that Oscar might have had more. Is this his 3rd win?
I do believe it's
3rd win this season.
his 3rd win this season, so I believe he has the most.
Yeah, it's 3 out of 5.
He's now leading the World Drivers' Championship.
First Australian in 15 years since Mark Webber.
By a handful of points. I'm pretty sure... Is Lando tied with Max?
I think he is, like 87 points or something.
Something like that. So, I mean, we're 4 or 5 races in? So, like...
It could change a lot.
Yeah, it's still... I don't know. We'll say that till the last leg, but
early days.
Yeah,
we sound like a Love Island episode where they're like they start dating somebody new, and they're like it's still early days. Man, you've been dating her for 20 days in Love Island, where all you do is spend time with each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because it's a decent amount of points right now that Oscar is leading, but it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things when you think about how many points Max has led or Lewis have led in the past. I also think we really haven't seen a lot of upgrades from teams. We haven't seen a lot of massive upgrades.
A lot could change with upgrades. I mean, McLaren 2 years ago was in dead last at this point, and then they had Lando on the podium. So
yeah, so I definitely think that where we're sitting right now, I'm not going to be comfortable. Obviously, if Oscar were to stay here, I would be over the moon, but I don't know. I like last season when we saw so many different drivers win. I'm curious to see if we're just gonna see kind of a flip of a bunch of drivers either getting closer to the lead or because the outcome for the races have been so drastically different in my opinion. Yes, the McLarens have been towards the top consistently, but I do feel like there's like a random person every time. Like I don't know how often Charles has been podiuming this season, but I feel like
this was the first podium for Ferrari.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think we've seen certain people. And so, I don't know. I
think the main people who have been on the podium have been both McLarens, George, and Max. And I think that's it.
Well, and I also think, too, because of that, because there's been so much movement of who's on the podium, it's also, if you look at the Drivers' Championship, it's really close. But the teams, like the constructors, McLaren's in the lead by like a crap ton. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to I never know, and I don't like doing it.
Do you want me to say what I think?
Sure.
At the moment, given that he's won 3 out of the 5 races,
You think Oscar's
and
gonna
that he's
win?
been consistently in the top
I
3,
think I don't want to say it.
I'm gonna knock on wood. I think at this point in the season, you can yell at me if I'm wrong at the end, but I think that Oscar Piastri will be the world driver champion this year in 2025. That's my thoughts in April, at the end of April 2025. So I could be very wrong by the time it gets to December. But I just think it's because he's been very consistent this year.
I do think.
And I think that consistency is going to take him very long and
Yeah.
far.
I don't know. I hate predicting these things so early and like.
I think that if Red Bull, I have a feeling that it's going to bite me in the ass too, probably. I have a feeling that Red Bull is going to bring an upgrade that's going to make the car worse.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna happen to a lot of teams. Because I mean that's what typically happens. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Bull gets more undrivable. Like that's the way I
think
see it.
the Ferrari's going to get better. I think the Mercs are going to stay where they are.
Yeah.
And then I think the Red Bull is going to get harder to drive.
Yeah.
And then I think Williams, my guess is going to be P5 this year.
Oh, beautiful.
Unless Red Bull really chokes. Oh my god. My god.
Because what is Red Bull right now? I don't have internet on my phone. What is Red Bull right now?
That's a really great question.
Sorry, we're doing this live, guys. We're just shooting the shit.
There's so much to talk about. We also have to talk about the Mohammed bin Sulayem thing.
Oh, yeah, we'll quickly talk about that.
Okay.
I don't want to focus on too much on that.
Red Bull is currently in 3rd with Ferrari in 4th. So Red Bull's at 89 points. Ferrari's at 78.
McLaren's 1st, Mercedes 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
McLaren's 188, Mercedes 111.
Yeah.
I could see Mercedes coming in P2 this year.
Same.
I think that Ferrari will be P3.
I also think Mercedes will come in P2 because besides McLaren for the top of the pack, they are the 2 most consistent drivers. Like they're Kimi and George are consistently in the points and they're close together in the points.
Yeah. So I think Mercedes will be P2. Right now, Red Bull's P3 with 89 points. Ferrari's P4 with 78 points. Williams is P5 with 25. Haas is P6 with 20. Aston Martin is P7 with 10. That is shocking. Racing Bulls, VCARB, is P8 with 8 points. Alpine is P9 with 6 points. And Sauber is P10 with 6 points. Okay, so here's what I think is going to be. McLaren P1, Mercedes P2, Ferrari's P4. This one really just depends on Red Bull and how they end up performing.
Yeah.
Because I could see Red Bull and Williams being very close contenders with each other.
I don't know. I think you're talking too soon.
I think that Carlos and Alex are such good drivers that if they nail these upgrades...
Ugh. You're putting stress on me.
It could be a Williams P4, a Red Bull P5.
That is crazy talk.
Have the mighty have fallen. I'm sorry.
I was ready. Netflix, if you need a writer for the drama,
I know.
call Emma.
I know. I think that Haas will stay P6. And I actually think that the rest of it will kind of stay... No, I love you, Fernando. I think Haas will be P6. I think Racing Bulls will be P8.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aston Martin will be P7. And Alpine will be P9, and Sauber will be P10. I just cannot foresee Alpine being crazy competitive throughout the rest of the season. I think they'll have these surprise races, but I don't imagine it will be a consistent thing.
Imagine if they double podium in Brazil again.
Yeah, imagine if they put someone on the podium in Monaco like they did a couple years ago with Esteban. Yeah. That was a crazy one. Your thoughts?
I'm not gonna predict anything. Cause
you hate predicting.
I hate predicting.
You're so boring.
Hashtag anxiety. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if I were to predict something, it'd be very similar to your thinking. I'm not sure I can get on board with the Williams outdoing the Red Bull.
This is if Williams really nails the upgrades and Red Bull's really chokes.
I think that Williams is gonna be 5. I do think that
I'm manifesting
Red Bull's gonna be 4th. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the gap on Red Bull's part, not on Williams, but if the gap is, like, embarrassingly small, like, Williams could have caught them or something like that.
Just them being in P4 in general is embarrassing for them.
Yeah, it's a common theme this season, but, you know, it speaks for itself. I think you're seeing some teams really blossom beautifully because they seem to just kind of really all support each other from the outside. And yes, everything that is given to the public is gone through media teams. So like I know that obviously what we're getting through YouTube and TikTok and F1 TV is obviously not what is really happening on these teams, but
yes,
I do think
we
positivity,
also know that they're bad actors.
Well, I also think too that just like positivity, like you can tell when it's there, and like there are
100%.
certain teams that like you can just tell people are really in a good place. I mean, Mercedes consistently, their drivers don't seem to be like losing their shit, you know?
They seem very
mean,
calm and happy.
I think it's a theme tonight, but I think Williams is really showing teammanship in a way like we haven't seen in a while, in my opinion. You know, I think
so refreshing.
Well, and I think it's a really easy sport to divide. I mean, it's always been a sport about rivalries, but I also think that it is a sport about underdogs, and at the fundamentals, it is about the teams. And so, if we do have this kind of like renaissance of F1 being like less focused on the stars and more about, you know, how like play games strategically, like get your drive, like I don't know, get your drivers to work together, like play the game. Like the FIA and, you know, Formula 1 are going to sit here and like not be consistent and with their rules and all that crap, then I don't know, have some fun with it, make it interesting, you know. But what do I know? I'm just a spectator.
Well, and speaking of the FIA, let's talk about Mohammed Ben Sulayem.
Yeah, so I don't really know much because
we weren't there,
and the person involved was very short and quick to the point. But it was evident that Max was not happy about the 5-second penalty through his radios, and I think like most drivers, none of them would have been happy. It's not selective to Max, number one. Afterwards, when they're right before they're about to do the interviews with David Coulthard, they're like still in Parc Fermé. They have those like weird podiums with the glass water bottles. I don't know why I'm always fascinated because the glass.
I don't know why they're glass.
I don't know. One, I don't know why they're glass, and two,
they look like the coldest, crispiest water.
Yes. Well, and then three, every country is like slightly different bottles, or like some will be similar. I don't know. I'm just fascinated.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll be different. Anyways, while the three drivers that are on the podium pull up, Ben Sulayem, like usual, is there in the shadows and comes out and goes to Max, which I don't know, like I wouldn't sit there and want to be in the line of fire after the driver's clearly angry and pissed off, understandably. I mean, he lost first place by less than 5 seconds? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be fuming and smoke's going to be coming out of his ears, but, you know, let's go speak to him. So, he goes and speaks to Max. No one knows what was said, but something was said. And it just seemed to add fuel to an already built-up fire.
So, Max goes over to David Coulthard at this point after speaking with Mohammed Ben Sulayem. And as MC said, Max was not happy. It was just throwing more what on the fire? What's the term?
It was more salt in the wound, more fuel onto the fire.
Yeah, sure, that works. So Max goes over to talk to David Coulthard. And thank God David Coulthard was a racer in his lifetime, because I think if it was a non-racer, I think they would have been like, whoa.
Well, and
Max's answer was very short.
Well, so, and something we haven't talked about is, in an earlier press conference in the weekend, there was an interaction that went viral, and I'm sure if Max were to ever see this, he's rolling in his grave at the fact that we're all dissecting his entire weekend, but he's been short pretty much all weekend, because there's been a lot of rumors swirling that he's going to leave Red Bull, and I think he's just tired of hearing it. And so Crofty asked him about it after, I'm sure, being asked about it for, like, quite a while. And he said something along the lines of, like, you stick to commenting and I'll stick to racing. Like, leave me the fuck alone. And so it's just adding to this buildup. I mean, we've had kind of bullshit calls in Max's like in his whole camp because of, I mean, the community service that he had to do because of cursing in the past.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the growing frustration of like it's not even fun anymore type situation. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, I don't know, but he gets to the press conference with David Coulthard, and David Coulthard immediately is like, so I hate to bring it up, but we have to talk about it, that 5-second penalty.
And Max's response was, look, I'm not going to say much on it, so I'll just say this. And then he was just like, it was a race. That was it.
Oh, I thought he didn't even say that. I thought he was like, I'm actually not going to comment on it. Like, thank you to the fans. Thank you to the racetrack.
Yeah. He was like, he just said, I'm not going to say much. I just want to say thank you to the fans. Thank you to everyone here.
And then just left.
And that's it.
And walked away.
And then the podium comes around. And he just, like, didn't really celebrate with everybody.
Yeah, it was weird.
Which is odd. Normally, they all kind of get a bit more involved, but he just kind of stood off to the side. And then he kind of left as soon as possible.
Yeah, I
don't think I've even seen videos of him doing, like, post-race interviews after that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure, like, the guy's fed up on, like, so many different levels from, like, this community and, like, the, you know, podcasting world. I'm sure he's fed up with the pundits. I'm sure he's fed up with the journalists. You know, I think the biggest thing we all say is, like, is Max gonna quit because he wants to, or is he gonna quit because the sport's no longer fun? You know? And I think it's, I don't know, it's like, but then also it's the other thing where, like, I can also see him being like, you caught me off guard. I was just like, I just had a bad day. Like, I wanted to win. You know, so I don't know. It's anyone's game when it comes to Max Verstappen, or he probably doesn't even care anymore at this point.
Yeah.
I do think, you know, the whole Ben Sliam comment thing and then him being quick to be like, I have been told not to comment or I could be penalized further is just kind of like snake in the grass energy. Like, if that's the way the FIA is going to play by threatening the drivers in a very public way is very Marvel villain energy.
I mean, it's kind of happened before.
And yeah, and so I think, I don't know, he's the number one racer in the world. Yeah, he might be struggling right now, but I don't know, like,
the FIA wants them to be robots.
And I feel like they're just pissing off the wrong drivers between, like, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, and, like, it's like you're pissing off the guys that, like, people are going to follow and listen to.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. So, you know my stance.
All right. Well, I think that that's basically everything for today. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you will notice that things are a little different. Our camera angle is slightly different. Our camera did die in the middle of this segment.
Yes.
So we had to charge that and go eat dinner and come back. But now we're back and now we're leaving again because this is the end of the podcast episode.
I guess some would call that movie magic.
That is. But it will not be edited nearly as great as movie magic. Anyways, next up is Miami. I hope you see all of the fantastic Miami edits on TikTok like I have been seeing because it's been very entertaining. I'm also really interested to see who's at the Miami Grand Prix because it's always a very celebrity-packed one. More so than Vegas, I think.
Swear to Jesus Christ, if there is a certain Cheeto-flavored human... I'm going to
not again
scream. It pissed me off last year to a point of, like,
she didn't want to mention it.
Not wanting to mention it. I hate talking about it. I hate giving it. It is a part of every aspect of our life right now, and it makes me want to scream.
let us
I
have
am
F1.
so angry that it's like, leave my escapism alone. You can't take it. You've taken so many other things from me as a woman. Ugh. I'm liberal, by the way. You couldn't catch on.
I think that was made known
If that pisses
many
you off.
times ago.
Sorry, not sorry.
Anyways, but yes, interested to see who's in Miami. If he is there, I will not be interested.
I am interested to see celebrity wise, like if this is gonna be a big like F1 movie promotion because we're getting closer.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think it's. I wonder if they're gonna. This is where they start like shoving it down our throats.
I think it probably will be.
Yeah. So
we did go to the movies last week to see the 20th anniversary of Pride and Prejudice, one of the greatest movies that's ever been created.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the first ever like in theaters trailer
for us
for F1. Yeah, I haven't been to the movies in a month, even though I had the movie pass. Get a movie membership, lots of fun. But yeah, we will be, the moment that we get the alert from our Regal app saying that we can get tickets, we will be there. I know some people are boycotting it because of the romantic storyline in it, and I agree, I don't like that aspect of it. But I'm sorry, I cannot resist. And I already have my movie theater pass. It's like free for me.
Yeah, it do have sense for us to go see it. So
like, why would I not?
feel like it's the biggest bargain, but I also
our friends, I was explaining to them why certain issues with the movie, and then even the fact that it's not even an F1 car, and I was pointing out, I was like, it's so clearly obvious it's not an F1 car, and people were like, it's because you watch them every weekend.
I do fear that it's going to try because it's like all the same people from Top Gun, Marvel or
Top Gun, yes, Maverick.
Oh, Maverick.
Marvel.
I don't know. I didn't see it. Anyways, I fear that it's going to be likened to that, but it's not going to be that, and people are going to go see it and just be like, huh. You know, like that. I feel like if you don't follow the sport, because I feel like it's going to be
in Top Gun Maverick, you have like 10 shirtless men on a beach in that whole dancing scene. You're not going to get that in this.
Well, and I also just feel like it's going to be so about the car and all those scenes of like, because they've hyped up the 87,000 majillion cameras we have on every surface of the car. And Brad
and he says,
Pitt.
I want this car to go to war.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, when the girl responds and is like, what about safety? And he's like, I never said anything about safety. That would never be said today.
Meanwhile, like, the drivers are tattling on each other about, like, the littlest of violations.
Literally. Anyways, another side tangent.
Yeah, we really got lost there.
Yeah, we are going to let you guys go, though, because it is my bedtime, in fact, at 8 o'clock at night. So make sure to follow us on all of the things. Go like and subscribe. Comment on that question that I had earlier in the episode that I cannot recall right now because it's been several hours since I asked that question. But please make sure to comment on that. Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.